you looking to learn more about your spiritual journey? Are you on a healing journey? Have you tried conventional ways of healing but didn't get the results you desired? If so, this podcast is for you. My name is Reverend Dr. Jackie Cope, and I'm a metaphysical minister, intuitive guide, and teacher. Here at Raven Rabbit, we believe that your ancestors, spiritual guides, and divine self are ready and eager to help you heal and prosper. We approach life, healing, and happiness through a holistic, indigenous spiritual lens to create the lives we want. Join me to radically change your life today. Hello, welcome to the Raven Rabbit Wellness Studio podcast. I'm Reverend Dr. Jackie Cope, and I am your host of this lovely podcast, and I am so honored to be here with you. If this is your first time here to the podcast, welcome. You are in for a treat as I begin this new series. And if you've been with me, thank you so much for being a dedicated listener. Make sure you go, if you're listening on Spotify, go in and give us a star rating here. That way that this podcast is pushed out to other people who really need to hear this message. And today's message is the beginning of a great series that many people will definitely benefit from. So if you're thinking of somebody that would really benefit from this as we talk about it, please, by all means, share it, tag me in it, let's talk about it, give me a star rating on Spotify or whatever platform you're listening to. That way this podcast can make it out to who needs it the most. I am finishing up from being a little under the weather this last week. It started with the stomach bug and then turned into like a sinus thing. So voice is a little rocky, but it's just from being a little under the weather. So don't mind it at all. So thank you so much for being here. I just want to get settled in together. Let's come into this space. Let's become present. Let's invite in our masters, guides, angels, and most importantly, source, God, universe into this space as we talk about my new framework that has been, I wanted to say it like the root of everything for me. And the framework's called Rooted, but really it's just the root of me finding so much more peace, so much more balance, and so much more happiness in my life. I spent my whole life battling what I thought was depression, battling, typical life things we all go through, breakups, divorce, medical issues, love, family, friend drama, like all of the things we go through, we all face it in some degree. And I always thought that depression was something that was a part of my life that I had to deal with, that I need to go to therapy, or for a time being, I was on medication. None of that stuff worked at the end of the day. Therapy was helpful, don't get me wrong, got me on the right path. I had a good psychologist. I've also had a not so good therapist either. But none of that was like my root cause, like that got me down into true healing, true happiness, and the whole vision of my business, which is an indigenous, holistic, spiritual approach to life, healing, and happiness. What got me here is what I'm going to share with you guys through these next few episodes throughout February. And that's my framework, Rooted. Okay, so before we talk about healing, clarity, intuition, or growth, we're going to do something much more important. We are going to slow down. In order to slow down, we have to get grounded. And this used to be something that was really hard for me when I was in yoga or when I started my spiritual journey. You would hear place your hand on your heart, place your hand on your stomach. I really felt uncomfortable doing that. I did not want to touch myself on my heart or my stomach. I don't know if it was, partial insecurities with self-image because I didn't want to touch the fat on my belly. I didn't want to touch my heart because I had no self-love for myself. So even me asking let's slow down. Let's put our hands on our body. I know that might be a big ask. And if you can do that, and it's something you've never done before, congratulations. It is the beginning of all of it. Getting in tune with yourself. So if you can, and if it feels okay, place your hand on your body wherever that is. Your chest, your heart, your stomach. Maybe it's just putting your hands on your thighs to just feel your body. Okay? And if you are feeling something by touching yourself, this is information. This is telling you something. Okay? And it's a signal to your nervous system when you do touch yourself that you are here. Okay, when we put our hands on our heart, you are here and you're safe in this moment. And that might have a lot of feelings come up with it. So I want you to take up those feelings. Anything comes with it, just take it as, okay, that's interesting. This is making me uncomfortable. Or it's making me feel like I don't want to do this. So take a breath in through your nose. Move that breath all the way down, fill into your lungs, and then exhale slowly. You don't need to change anything about yourself while you're listening here. I'm not here to fix you, and you're not here to be fixed. What we're focusing on today is becoming regulated. Okay, so this whole rooted thing I'm talking about, this rooted framework, and on the rooted path. This first episode of the Rooted series, it's not so much a mindset framework. It's definitely not manifestation culture or spiritual performance. Rooted is a return to the body as wisdom. Okay, so let me just tell you what rooted stands for. R is for regulated. O, observe. O, orient. T, tend. E, embody. D, devote. So today is all about regulation and to regulate. Because before clarity, before intuition, before manifestation, you must feel safe in your body and your body must feel grounded. You can't so much like think your way into safety, saying, because I do believe, change your thinking, change your life. But it's more than that. You got to really train your thinking to get there. So you cannot positive thought your way out of survival. You can't just be like, I love myself. I have everything I want. Life is perfect. We can't just sit here and like dump all these positive affirmations while they feel so unsafe in our body. But you can train your thinking and train how we think and make new neural pathways in order to like legitimately change your thinking, to change your life, and to come into a regulated state. When we have regulation, everything else becomes possible. And it took me a long time to understand this. You would hear it in the spiritual world all the time. Oh, you need to get regulated. Or people saying, I have a dysregulated nervous system. It took me a long time of studying to understand, like, what does regulated mean in my body? Because what works for one person might not work for another. And how do I get there? And sometimes the steps you have to get to regulation can cause some dysregulation as you're doing it. So for me, stepping outside of the classroom, that was a little dysregulating for me. It was a scary thought to leave what I have been trained to think is a safe, secure environment. But that dysregulation at the time led to beautiful regulation in my life and having control over my schedule and how I show up every day. So that's just a little side note. Regulation is where everything becomes possible. So what is regulation actually? Regulation doesn't mean calm, because for a long time I thought like, oh, it just means someone's really calm, they're even keel, nothing ever blows their top off, nothing gets them rattled. That's not what regulation is. All regulation means is that your nervous system is not in that survival mode. You are not in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You are not in any of those four things. You can just think rationally, have emotional balance, have clear self-image, and have a strong creator field. Okay, it means you're not making decisions from panic, shutdown, or collapse. And it means that your body's not hijacking your mind, because that's what it is to do to survive. Our body is meant to keep us alive and to keep us surviving, and it does the best that it can. And it can totally hijack our mind in order to make us feel and think that we're safe. When really it can blow up something so minute into something huge because of the way we handle it. So many people think anxiety means something is wrong with them, and it doesn't. And it also, so many people think that depression means that they're broken, and it doesn't. Anxiety and depression are just information. They're signals from our nervous system trying to tell us something. And so we want to get to the root cause of those things and figure out why they're happening. They are not a failure. When we do not understand this, we turn to survival responses. We turn our survival responses into our identity. Oh, I'm just an anxious person. Oh, I'm just a depressed person. I was totally there before. With my current husband now, I tell him when I first met him, I would say, I have depressive episodes. They're very serious. This is something I want to be upfront with you about. I was letting my dysregulated nervous system hold a key factor in my personality, and it doesn't have to. Same thing with anything you say about yourself. What's something that you claim that you say about yourself? Oh, I'm just this. Oh, I'm always late. Oh, I'm always nervous. Oh, I don't like public speaking. All of these things come from some type of dysregulated nervous system issue. And you have to go back in your life and figure out why. Why are those things coming up? For my depression, I was always so hard on myself. And I realized a lot of my depression actually rooted in true self-hate. I had this loathing self-hate for myself, and it wasn't depression at all. It was the fact that I was never taught, nor did I learn how to love myself. And once I gathered all the ingredients I needed to figure out how to love myself, things drastically changed. And they changed for the better. And depressive episodes are not something that show up in my life where I go through these long spurts of I'm in an episode. Okay. So for so long, I didn't know that I was dysregulated. I thought that I was just tired or I was overwhelmed. And the big one here with my self-hate, that I was just failing, that I did everything wrong. And so I lived with anxiety, I lived with worry, I lived with depression. Most of all, I lived with self-hate. And I always had this constant sense that I had to hold everything together. And I was bursting at the seams. I couldn't hold it all. My body was in survival, even though on the outside, my life looked really successful. Yeah, I graduated college. I had a well-paying job. I own a home. I was pretty much medically, a healthy person. None of it, all of that was just from the outside. None of it was really true because on the inside, I was such a broken mess. I didn't even know how to regulate myself. And it took many different techniques to learn how to regulate myself. And we're going to get into some of those tools because I want you to be able to regulate yourself quicker and faster than I ever did, because mine took a long path to get here. And I know that you guys can do it so much quicker and find that relief and find the root causes of the issues coming up so you could really tackle them. And like I said before, you might feel a little dysregulated before you feel regulated, because when we start pulling out the shit, going through it. It's like, why am I dealing with this? Why am I bringing this up? It's so painful. But we need to address those things or they're just going to fester and they're going to get so much worse. Because I was definitely the queen of shoving everything down, never dealing with anything, keeping my emotions to myself. And then eventually I would explode. And I would always explode at the wrong person, and I would explode on myself and take all that self-hate and anger out on myself too. So we want to get away from that. Okay. When I was in this dysregulated state, I could not hear my intuition. And it's not because I was disconnected spiritually. I've told you before, I've always been connected to spirit. But it was because my nervous system was too loud. I had to learn to survive. It was always the next thing. Once I get this thing done, everything will be okay. Once I get this accomplished, everything will be okay. I'll get this other certificate. I'll do this other training. I'll go to this other conference. I'll do this other presentation. I'll take on that extra work at school. It was always something. And my nervous system was just trying to survive. And I was trying to make myself look so important and so needed. Like, I can't fall apart because I have all these roles I have to fulfill. I have to be there all the time. I can't be sick. I don't have time for myself. And that's something too I would say a lot. Well, that must be nice. I don't have time to nap. Must be nice. I don't have time to take a break, because I made it out to be that I was, God, the word just slipped my mind. Like, I was so valuable. Like I had to be there. Okay. So all of this survival drowns out your wisdom. It drowns out your intuition. And then you're always living in this heightened level that you're never truly grounded and making rational decisions. It's just one irrational decision after another. And that is such a hard thing to look at and realize and be like, damn, I've been making so many decisions and they're just decisions straight out of my survival. I've been in this, usually I'm in a fight mode. I'm going to fight to survive. I got to work really hard. I've got to pound the pavement. I got to go, go, go. This hustle culture. You have to fight to make it. If you keep making decisions from that fight perspective, you're going to continue to get results from that fight perspective. It's going to always feel like it's always the next thing. It's never over. You never get a moment. And that gets into the spiritual law of attraction. You are going to attract what it is that's in your creator field. I was constantly attracting high stress, must get done, needed scenarios in my life. Always between homework assignments, all the degrees I have, all of the working hours I've put in when I worked at a school. I was constantly attracting more and more strenuous work that it felt good to tick off in the box, but at the end of the day, I wasn't truly all the way fulfilled because I had to continue to chase. Like if I was fulfilled, I wouldn't have to continue to chase. I would just be like, oh, this is it. This is great. I love this. But I was never there. I'm there now. In my business, I still feel this urge to like chase and it's fun. But like if it just stays like this right now where I'm at, consulting with a school and working on my spiritual business, this is great. And I know I have the capacity for more. I could throw in some more schools, but I'm not going to chase it to be like, oh, look at me. I consult with X amount of schools. And I'm so brilliant and you need to have me at your conference and I need to do this. Everything I'm doing comes from a very regulated state now, where I look at opportunities and I think to myself, will this amplify my investment? Whether it's, getting my name out there, my finances, my personal goals of just wanting to be able to add to the education and spiritual realms is the thing that I'm looking at and deciding about something that's going to amplify it. If not, I don't need to do it. I don't need to chase every little thing like I used to. But I'm now making a decision from a much more regulated place. So all of my healing that I've done, it didn't begin when I figured it all out. And then it was like, okay, I'm all better. I figured it out. It started to begin when I started to feel safe enough to like listen and start letting things go and start letting my intuition and all of my gifts come online and let those be the driving force of how I make decisions. So, this is something that I want you to hear clearly. Your stress, shutdown, overwhelm, anxiety, numbness, exhaustion, these are not character flaws. Okay, because they're not part of your character, because you don't want those things in your creator field. They're just responses to prolonged pressure. When your nervous system is overwhelmed, it does exactly what it's designed to do, which is to protect you. Okay, we are animals. We are human species. Your nervous system is built to survive out in the wild. So when we get that email or we get that text or we know we have these plans with somebody and it feels like we're being chased by a tiger running for our lives, that's what our body was set up to survive from. But that's not the reality we live in anymore. Very rarely are we ever going to need that fight response of surviving for our lives because we are under some kind of threatening attack. But our body doesn't know the difference between that threatening life or death attack and that email, that text, that phone call, that person entering the room. Though they turn on the same thing. That's turned on in your brain and your fight, flight, or freeze, like it is on. And it is like, all right, body, here we go. Because your nervous system was here built to protect you. Regulation teaches us to recognize these states without judgment. So we see this like, oh, this email that always brings me so much like, oh man, my boss emailed me. This client's emailing me. I'm getting these comments online. Regulation, when we come to it with a regulated state, is like, why is that bringing something up for me? Ooh, that person made that comment. Why is that making me upset? What is that person reflecting back to me? Why is when that email goes off, I get that panic? I used to have I didn't work in corporate for long, for like a year, and I had a different work phone. And that phone, that standard ring, would give my body like the little, like that jolt through my body, like, oh my God, my work phone's ringing. And I just don't like it. And I'll hear that ring when I'm out places and I'll get that initial jolt. But I have to sit there and think, like, why? A lot of it comes from, oh, my boss is calling. Oh my gosh, I hope I don't disappoint her. Oh my God, what if I'm so bad at my job? I start catastrophizing things in my head because I had so much self-hate and so much insecurity. Oh my gosh, she asked me a question and I don't know how to answer it, and she's going to think I'm stupid. And it all goes back to this really strong belief that I thought I was really dumb, which comes from my childhood. Because it's like, okay, why do I think I'm so dumb all the time? Why am I so afraid of anybody seeing me as stupid? Where does that come from? Oh, well, when I was 14, my dad called me a fucking idiot. Oh, well, yeah, that didn't feel good. Oh, when I was like a little girl, I was one of the few friends in the friend group. I felt like I was the only friend, but that's probably not true. I was one of the few friends in the friend group that wasn't in the GATE program. I was stupid. I had to stay while the smart kids had to go. Like, it all comes back to this fearful belief I have about my intelligence. So what did I do about it as an adult? Way overcompensated. I have my doctorates in educations. I have 2 bachelors, 2 masters, 2 masters, and a ton of certificates. Why? To prove what? All it did was I ran around and made myself ragged. Like, that was a lot of work to do all of that. So, All of those decisions were made from a dysregulated state. Now I look at things much differently. Now I know the root cause of it. A lot of my issues and insecurities come back to the fear of being perceived stupid or even perceiving myself as stupid. So you have to think about your thing. What is it? What is the thing that makes you tense up and gets you dysregulated? The person calling, the email, the confrontation you have all the time, the fight you have with your significant other, your parents calling you, like your mom or your dad, and having to deal with them, your in-laws. All of these things can make you feel a way. And when you get into that state, you need to say, oh, this is interesting. This is making me feel, and like name whatever that feeling is. Okay. And this gets into something I'm calling the rooted audit. And it's a regulation check-in. And it's not about fixing. It's about listening. I want you to check in with your body. So right now, during this podcast, as you're listening to this episode, how do you feel in your body right now? What is your body experiencing in this moment? Am I bringing up stuff that's making you uncomfortable? Am I making you think about a certain scenario that makes you uncomfortable? Are you activated, shut down, or are you relatively settled? That's what I want you asking yourself when you do a regulation audit. What is my body experiencing in this moment? Am I activated, shut down, or relatively settled? And what does my body need now to feel 5% safer? That's where we're going to need to learn to start listening to our intuition. Okay? Because that answer could be many things. It could be, I need a quick 5 minutes by myself. I need to take 5 breaths in. I need to go outside and get some fresh air. I need to go put my feet on the ground. I need to look at this picture that brings me so much joy. It could be a picture of your kids or your cat or whatever. What's going to make you feel 5% safer in this moment? You may notice tension, restlessness, heaviness, nothing at all. There's no correct answer. Your regulation's going to begin when you give it permission to. You have to give your body permission to feel regulated and to be safe. And I believe in affirmation work. You may hear some spiritualists say, affirmations don't work. And, they might not. But that's because we have to work on our thinking. Affirmations work if you're willing to put in the work and do the thinking patterns and figure out the stuff that is not fun. So when it came to feeling safe in my body and getting really regulated, the affirmation that worked the best for me was, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be and I am safe. Or other way around, I am safe and I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. Every morning for about a year, I said that to myself and I really started believing it. And I would say it when I was in my bed because it was absolutely true. My alarm would go off. I knew it was time for work. I would have the apprehension, everything starting to come up. A lot of my anxiety would come in the morning. And that was the first thing I would say. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be and I am safe. I'm in my bed, in my room. I'm absolutely safe in my room. And being at my house is exactly where I'm supposed to be. None of it's a lie. The reason we run into issues with affirmations not working is because sometimes we try to gaslight ourselves into things that are just so impossibly hard to believe. If you're in the midst of a car accident and you're saying, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be and I'm safe, you're probably not feeling so safe as an injury is occurring or could possibly be occurring. Granted, it might be where you're supposed to be if that's your soul's journey, but we have to find things and then make it true. We have to say an affirmation and then find times that it's true in our life and give ourselves those confirmations, even if it's just for a split second. You know that when I woke up in my bed and it was all nice and cozy, I was safe. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And I could ground to that feeling and make it real. So that way, when things started to come up and I'd get that dreaded email, that phone call, whatever it would be like, stop. I am safe. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. I can handle this. I was giving myself the permission to be safe. So your regulation journey is not going to be a one-time event. You're not going to go to one sound bath and be like, you know what, I'm regulated forever. I am forever healed. I wish. I wish I could just go to one sound bath and call it a day. It's not a one-time event. Your regulation is going to become a relationship. It happens through this rhythm of, like I told you, every day I'd wake up and say that. And it became normal to say that. Then I started saying it like, again, like when I'd get the anxiety over the phone or an issue or seeing something online that would trigger me. I'd have that rhythm of having that new neural connection of I am exactly where I'm supposed to be and I'm safe. It could happen through your breath. It could happen through grounding. And it could happen through body awareness. Sometimes regulation can look like movement too. It could be exercising, dance, yoga. For me, it's definitely yoga a lot. And sometimes it looks like stillness, like meditation, sitting outside, feeling the breeze, getting in the hot tub, taking a shower. And sometimes regulation looks like choosing to not make a decision yet. This one happened to me recently. We had a very stressful end of a trip, and I got really upset with my husband. And my mind started catastrophizing, and I thought of all the things I wanted to say because I was so right about the situation. And I wanted to make a decision right then and there that I never ever want to go to another amusement park ever again. Because that's where I was at. I was very dysregulated at that point. And I was thinking about all the reasons I was right. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to get in this car and I'm not going to say anything. We're going to go home. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to go to bed. We'll see how I feel about it tomorrow. And I never ended up having to say it because I now look back and I was totally dysregulated. I was tired. I was just like a kid that day. I was overdone. I do want to go to an amusement park again with my husband. Just not at that moment anymore. I was all done. So sometimes it looks like not making a decision at all. And do you see where that's a simple example? Do you see where we're making decisions in our lives? I'm never going to trust that person again. I'm never going to that place again. I will never call them again ever. We make these decisions from really dysregulated points in our lives. So sometimes it's best if we're not even making a decision. The decision could be, let's wait. Do not decide your future while your nervous system is in survival. Okay, that goes back to that universal law of attraction. If you're going to make that decision during that time, so if I made that decision that I'm never going to go to an amusement park ever again with my husband, ever, and that's probably going to be very unlikely. We're going to go again. What am I going to attract? Another terrible time because I made a decision from a very dysregulated place and I'm going to attract whatever it is I put out in my creator field. If I'm like, this is never going to work, this is too hard, then that's what I'm going to attract. I have the same thing with my son. I don't know how much I've shared on this podcast about my son. I don't talk about my children much, but he is diagnosed autistic. And there was a really hard point when it just felt like my husband and I have these conversations. I don't know if we could take him anywhere. I don't know if we can take him to dinner or to the store. Maybe we have to stay home. And I felt all of this, just like I was in a very dysregulated place of like, my poor child, why does he struggle to just go out and have dinner? Why can't this just be a fun thing? And for a while, I was contemplating, like, do I need to have this conversation deeper with Jason? Are we really never going to go out to dinner anymore ever again? And I thought, no, like, we are his parents. We have to teach him how to get through. Because if we don't give him those skill set, and even though it's very, very difficult for us, we're going to end up making all of us miserable. First off, we're never going to go out to have a family meal again out in public. Well, that sucks. That's a long time. Then when he grows up and becomes an adult and decides he wants to go out, he's not going to have the skill set to know how to do it because we didn't teach him, because we didn't take him anywhere. So you could see where, like, when you're dysregulated and you're so upset because, yeah, he's done some embarrassing stuff in restaurants, and you could make a decision right then and there. It can be very irrational. You could see how that just affects everything. And again, if I went with that decision and I didn't think rationally, like, okay, no, you know what? My job is to train him. I am his parent. It is to teach him and give him the tools that he needs to get through life, because chances are when he grows up, he is going to go out and he's going to need a pull from his tool belt. How do I go out? How do I act at a restaurant? What am I supposed to do? I need to teach him regulation skills too. So we talk about regulation a lot in my family now that I think about it. I don't talk about my son much, but we do talk about, like, we're getting to a point. We need to stop. We need to regulate. I see this escalating. And it is something that has just become such a norm in my family because of him too. It was good for me. It's good for him. Sometimes we just have to stop and take a break because he gets to a crash point. And as adults, I don't care if you have a diagnosis or not, we can all get to that point of, like, a crash out and it's about to happen and all shit's gonna blow loose. So do not make decisions when your nervous system is in that survival state. All right, so I want to give you a tool for this. So I gave you a lot of information about regulation, why it's important. Your simple tool is a really easy question. Your practical tool is a question. What does my nervous system need right now? Okay, and you're going to have to start tapping into your intuition and strengthening your intuition muscle. Okay. When we say, what does my nervous system need right now? When I listen to my intuition, I got to listen to that first thing that comes through, and I'm not going to question it. Okay. Is it slower breathing, standing outside, gentle movement, rest, less input? Mine, for a while, I did this One Heal program, was putting my phone outside of my bedroom to sleep. That was a hard one, but that's what my nervous system needed. An easy one, like I told you, using my phone to look at a picture of my cat. Oh, that makes me so happy, Look at my kids, they're so cute. Look at my baby. I've got a real silly one now, too. After going to Disneyland, I have this silly little stuffed animal that has little magnet hands, and he holds onto my water bottle, like just touching him. He's a little alien from Toy Story. He's so adorable. That's very regulating for me. So whatever it might be, what does your nervous system need right now? A reading? Taking out those tarot cards and giving yourself a read. Meditating. Finding a church. A spiritual center. Think about what that is. Talk to your intuition. Talk to your higher self. Have a conversation with Source. You do not need to justify the answer that comes up. And this was a big one for me. Regulation is not productivity. Because for me, with that whole hole I had with self-hate and feeling stupid, I always felt like anything I did had to be productive. If it wasn't bringing me a result or bringing me something to produce, I didn't want to do it. I love checking the box. I want everything to be done. I want my checklist to be checked. I want to have a result in my hand. But when it comes to regulating yourself, you don't need to have the production and the productivity. There's no end result. The end result is I feel regulated. and you don't have to justify why. All of it is a repair. So with that, I hope that you do your regulation audit and use those tools. Go back and listen to this podcast, write down those questions. And I hope you use your tool of asking yourself, what does my nervous system need right now? I would love to hear from you if you want to share that. That you listen to the podcast, you have an answer, share that in your story, share that in a post, tag me on Facebook. Let me know what your nervous system needs. If you're anxious, depressed, overwhelmed, or numb, I want you to hear this. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are responding to something. And before you try to change your life, heal your past, or access your intuition, start here with regulation. Create safety in your body. This is the foundation of Rooted. I hope that really brought you something that you needed. In the next episode, we will move into the O, which is all about observe, where regulation allows awareness to replace the reaction. For now, be gentle. Your nervous system is listening. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Expand the life, healing, and happiness of others in your field by sharing this episode. You can get more of my content and other helpful tips by following Raven Rabbit LLC on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Be sure to comment on Spotify and answer the episode's question so I can keep creating content you love and desire. Thank you so much.